on Arise News that at least 25 schoolgirls and a teacher were abducted from a school in Kebbi State in northwest Nigeria on Monday. It's the latest in a string of similar eye-goggling incidents in this country. 2 of those students have since managed to escape. Local officials say they ran away as their armed captors were leading them into the bush, and they ran across farmland to safety. That is good news, but of course many students are still missing. The government has said that they are doing all that is humanly possible to make sure they are rescued as soon as possible. And President Tinubu has postponed his trip to the G20 and AU summits. The case of this latest Kebbi abduction has of course now gone around the world. And so has the brutal killings by insurgents of an Army Brigadier General Musa Uba and other officers who were caught on the trot by their attackers. Meanwhile, police say 3 people have been killed after gunmen stormed a church and opened fire on worshippers in Kwara State, which straddles the southwest and north-central regions. Several others were reportedly abducted after being rounded up during the attack on Tuesday evening at the Christ Apostolic Church in Eruku town in the Ekiti local government area of Kwara State. Police and vigilante groups have been combing nearby areas for those missing. But community leaders are quoted as saying that Eruku town has come under repeated attack by bandits in the last 3 weeks, and that distress calls to the authorities were not responded to. A chilling video of Tuesday's attack, captured during a live stream, shows the worshippers conducting a service when sporadic gunshots exploded inside the church premises.
Right, so you do what we say in military terms, you thin out those locations. You pick, and take them.
Yeah,
to
but what I'm saying
area.
is that if that school is seen as a threat, I mean a threat of, abductions, then it means that given that they're sending the troops there now, they could have sent the troops there earlier.
But the troops that they picked to move to that place, right, were picked from areas that also threatened areas.
Right.
And now, so there's the risk that the insurgents could attack some of those areas. I mean, you never can.
You mean whilst they're combing the forests around sort of the MAGA town?
Sometimes insurgents cannot attack in a place to lure troops out of this thing, right? So when you go on pursuit, trying to do this thing, you expose your flank and they attack that distance. So we never can tell.
Yes, we've actually seen that happen in some of the military sort of camps and so on there, where because they've been sent somewhere, those places are loosely guarded and they go and attack them. But I mean, how much do you think these sorts of security failures that appear to be happening frequently in this country, I mean, you've already mentioned that it's a reflection of poor leadership, lack of political will, but there also seems to be a gap in the security architecture that allows these sorts of incidents to happen in that sort of leadership structure within the security services.
Look, I've said this several times in the past. Look, fatigue has set in, right? This is now the military since the Liberian crisis, since from 1990, 91. The military has been involved in this. There is fatigue. Now, secondly, again, right, it has had a negative effect on morale.
Right.
Some troops, some soldiers have been away from their families for upward of 5 years. I served in Liberia 5 years in the stretch virtually. It was when I was injured, wounded, during the assassination attempt on Chastello. I was his ADC, I was shot. Everyone with me was killed.
Were you there in that
assassination?
ECOMOG headquarters when he
No,
was...
not the headquarters. At the executive mansion.
Okay, that's a different thing. That's the assassination attempt on him.
Chastello, which happened, I think it was 1st of October 1996. He and I survived, and I was shot 2 places. Everyone with me was killed. Now, this, I mean, look, for a very long time, troops have been listening. It was only when I came, when I, convalescing, recovery after the surgery, It was when then after that, I went back to Liberia. Of course, President Chastolo, when he won the election, requested General Abacha to have me sent back, and I went back. So I said 5 years, and you have troops, soldiers.
You burn out, basically.
Yeah.
You burn out.
Listen, I mean, I can tell you, I commanded a brigade in the northeast, close to where this incident happened in Konduga. The brigade was based in Goza before they were dislodged, and then I was now appointed, and then I moved the dislodged troops, those moved them from Maiduguri to Konduga, and from there for further offensive. And it was in one of the offensive that I injured myself. I lost hearing in my left ear, had RPG attack. So now some of the soldiers that I commanded there are still there. Perhaps they came back 1 or 2 years, returned back there. I mean, look at the case of, there was a brigadier general, then he was killed as Colonel Boko in Damboa a few years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. He was killed there in Damboa. I mean, that general, he was promoted posthumously. That general served repeatedly in that theater. Now, it was not a punishment, but because there were no officers to send. So this thing is having a lot of effect. Family lives are being destroyed. I mean, so the soldiers are also victim of the failings
I think
of the state.
That's a very important point you make about morale and the fact that people are essentially burning out. But is there also a sense that there are rivalries between the security agencies to the extent that those rivalries might harm the safety of Nigerians in this way?
I don't think that is, of course, you may have inter-service rivalry. I mean, it's healthy in some, when you try to outdo each other, but where it's detrimental, when it becomes detrimental, then that is where the problem is. But in a competitive environment, of course, you should have that kind of distance. But I don't think that is the problem. The problem is, the problems are many. Part of it is that, look, say the President Commander-in-Chief, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, has just made appointment. He gives the service chiefs blank check. Do as you like. I mean, no consequence. I mean, you don't do things like that in the same environment. You give a timeline. Look, guys, I give you 3 months. Sort out the mess in north-central Nigeria, Benue and Plateau State. If they don't do that, you kick them out and get someone to listen. And now, if you give them that kind of deadline, now they'll be up and doing. But you just give a blank check. Do as you like. No consequence.
Is there a sense that the leadership in this country doesn't display much concern? Because I mean, you're a military man. You know what's going on in the military. We don't often, ordinary people don't often know exactly, which is why it's very good to have somebody like you here enlightening us. But is there a sense that the leadership, the civilian leadership, doesn't display much concern for the citizens in this country who are being abducted and murdered in their thousands? Because in many countries, you and I were talking about this before we came on air, even if one person is abducted, the country comes to a standstill and everyone is on alert until that person is rescued. But not in Nigeria. The circus of government carries on regardless. I mean, they're going all around the place talking about absorbing people into the APC from, defectors and all the rest of it, as if the people who are being killed and carted away, abducted, are just animals. I mean, and there never appears to be any resolute countermeasures taken.
Well, I think you said it all precisely. I mean, they don't seem to care. I mean, and that is why even as a Nigerian, of course, one will not support the Trump threat being actualized. I mean, that will hurt our sovereignty, so to speak. I mean, but you see, it is now gingering some sort of action, because now the politicians are feeling threatened that perhaps there will be sanction on them. I mean, they will not be able to travel. They will not be able to, the money they've stolen and kept in stashed in various banks may be lost to this, and that is why they're being forced to action. Because our politicians and the leadership, not just the politicians, don't just bloody care.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think most Nigerians would agree with you. We're running out of time. We are where we are. I mean, you've talked about increasing troop numbers. They should have done it all along. They haven't done it. Beyond the criticism of how the government and the security forces are responding, what should they be doing right now in the current circumstances and given the limitations that you're talking about in terms of troop numbers, fatigue, morale, and all the rest of it? Should they be increasing operations, or should they be negotiating with whoever has abducted these students? What do you think should be happening?
Negotiation is out of the question. No dialogue with criminals. Whatever distance. Now, look at Israel. I don't support the genocide they carried out against the Palestinians, but as a military man, I understand some of the military actions they took. Now, for instance, look, northwest Nigeria, northeast Nigeria, you have Sambisa forest, you have Alagarno forest, you have this. Why the hell are these forests still distant? Burn out those forests. These are hideouts for them. Look, there will be shouts, you know, kind of environmental degradation, human rights, that is this thing. What has happened to Israel? Israel has done what it did, you know, flooding the tunnels with seawater, now attempting to flood the tunnels with concrete, this thing. Go ahead and burn out the forest. We may need to relocate people out of, say like Damboa, where you've killed 2 generals now. You know, now this is because of the presence of the Alagarno forest, because of the Sambisa forest and other forests in this, that you have this. So burn out this forest, take them out. The Americans did it in Vietnam. You know, they use the napalm gas. They use all sorts of this. Right, do it. Now there will be shouts. Who gives a damn if you win?
I mean, in some ways, that's what happened in Sri Lanka, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, they just took out everything, basically.
They damned the consequence. There were a lot of shouts. But today, the United Country. Now, when there is no Nigeria tomorrow, look at Somalia, look at Sudan, right? Look.
So it's better to take action now than risk turning into a failed state.
Absolutely.
But beyond these particular incidents that are taking place in the northeast and northwest and so on, I mean, if you were able to get on top of that, that will obviously reduce the problem, but that's by no means the end of the problem, is it?
Right. I think now you need to
in terms of the overall picture of security in this country.
Things are degenerating. Things are deteriorating every day. I mean, we can't fold our hands and do nothing. Recall my chat with you some couple of months ago, I think in June or thereabout, where I said, look, the problem in the southeast Nigeria is more political rather than military. For goodness sake, I don't support people calling for a breakup of the country. I don't support this so-called separatist movement. But for goodness sake, now you have a problem at hand. Why don't you address the IPOB problem? Why don't you release Nnamdi Kanu, for goodness sake?
And solve the political problem.
Yes.
And free the troops to go somewhere
use them where they are distant. For goodness sake, why you play this? You've given, what is it called, amnesty to people who killed this. I was a commanding officer in the south. They kill a lot of this, right? You give them amnesty. One of them today, or 2 of them are here getting big contract from government.
Indeed.
You are giving amnesty, or you are speaking to bandit leaders. If these bandit leaders, 2 generals, for instance, you come and say, okay, he has renounced this thing. For goodness sake, let's call a spade a spade.
General, I want to thank you very much indeed. It's always very, very illuminating talking with you. And I hope the powers that be are listening to you, because I think many Nigerians are. Major General Danjuma Ali Kefi was the former general officer commanding the 1st Mechanized Division of the Nigerian Army, and he is currently a security strategist. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you,
Lovely
Charles.
to see
Thank
you
for
again.
having me.